Is America really on the verge of becoming a communist country, or is that just political rhetoric? A fiery speech from President Donald Trump has reignited one of America's oldest political debates. After a surprising wave of progressive victories in New York, Trump warned that democratic socialism poses what he called the greatest threat to the United States since its founding. But CNN anchor Kaitlan quickly challenged that claim on live television, arguing that democratic socialism and communism are not the same thing. So what exactly happened? Why is this debate dominating headlines? And what could it mean for the future of American politics? Let's break it all down. The story begins. The political storm began after several Democratic primary elections in New York delivered victories to progressive candidates aligned with New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. These wins energized the Democratic Party's progressive wing and immediately caught the attention of President Donald Trump, who closely monitored the election results well into the early morning hours. According to reports, Trump remained awake until after 2:30 a.m., posting repeatedly on social media as the results unfolded. Just days later, speaking before the annual Faith and Freedom Coalition conference, Trump dramatically escalated his criticism. Standing before thousands of conservative supporters, he described democratic socialists as hardcore godless communists, and warned that they represented the most serious threat to our country since its existence. Trump went even further, suggesting that if these political ideas gained power, Americans would face a bleak future marked by economic decline, weakened freedoms, and fundamental changes to the nation's identity. The remarks instantly became one of the biggest political stories of the day. CNN responds. Later that evening, CNN chief White House correspondent Kaitlan addressed Trump's comments during her program The Source. Collins argued that while Democrats themselves are debating what the New York primary results mean for the future of their party, Trump's comparison between democratic socialism and communism was inaccurate. She reminded viewers that democratic socialism is a political philosophy that generally supports democratic institutions while advocating for expanded government involvement in areas such as healthcare, education, labor protections, and social welfare. Communism, by contrast, historically refers to political systems that abolish private ownership of major industries and have often been associated with one-party authoritarian governments. Collins also noted Trump's intense focus on the New York races, emphasizing how invested he appeared to be in the outcome. Her comments reflected a broader discussion taking place across political media about whether Trump's language was intended primarily to energize conservative voters ahead of future elections. Understanding the political context. The debate comes at a time when the Democratic Party itself is experiencing growing ideological divisions. Moderate Democrats continue to advocate pragmatic, centrist policies, while progressive lawmakers are pushing for more ambitious government programs aimed at reducing economic inequality. The recent New York victories have strengthened the visibility of that progressive movement. Supporters argue that these candidates are responding to rising housing costs, healthcare challenges, and economic pressures facing working families. Critics, however, warn that many of these proposals would require significantly larger government spending and could reshape the country's economic system. This internal Democratic debate has now become a central talking point for Republicans, who view it as an opportunity to contrast their vision of limited government with expanding progressive influence. Public reaction. As expected, reactions were deeply divided. Trump supporters largely praised his warning, saying it highlighted concerns about expanding government power and the direction of progressive politics. Meanwhile, critics argued that equating democratic socialism with communism oversimplifies complex political ideologies and contributes to growing political polarization. Across social media, the debate quickly became one of the day's most discussed political topics, with supporters and opponents offering sharply different interpretations of both Trump's speech and CNN's response. Expert analysis. Political historians point out that accusations of socialism and communism have been recurring themes in American politics for generations. From the Cold War era through modern election campaigns, these labels have frequently been used as powerful political messaging tools. Experts also note that democratic socialism exists in different forms around the world, with supporters often pointing to countries that combine market economies with extensive public services. At the same time, critics argue that expanding government control can lead to inefficiency, higher taxes, and slower economic growth. Ultimately, the debate is less about terminology alone and more about competing visions for America's future.